What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to the Thomas Gallery. And today we're going to jump right into a really juicy and potentially volatile subject. Alright, it's a good thing. Don't worry about it. Star Wars or Star Trek? Which one do you go for? Alright, now I'm just going to jump out there. I don't care, I'm just going to jump right out there. I'm a Star Wars man myself. Okay, I'm a Star Wars man. That's not to say that I don't like Star Trek, because I do. However, I guess the artist in me, the creative child in me, the Jedi in me leans more towards Star Trek. Now, I will say, I don't consider, I'll be honest with you, I don't consider Star Wars science fiction, technically, because science fiction gives the idea that there's some actual science or potential science in the film or movie. I do not consider Star Wars that. I will give that title to Star Trek all the way. Star Trek is more science based. It's more science based. It came out in the 60s, during the whole space race and all that stuff. Kennedy and all that. It came out during that time. So I consider Star Trek more science based. I don't consider Star Wars science based. Star Wars, the one thing that Star Wars put in the movie that got anything to do with science at all is that whole the Millennium Falcon on the parsecs. One, even though he said a scientific term, he used it incorrectly. A parsec has nothing to do with time. It's not a measure of time. It's a measure of distance. Okay? I know it says second. Usually people think sec and second. Okay, but no, it is a unit of distance, not time. Okay? So that was used incorrectly. So, but just by that alone, Star Wars goes out of the science fiction category. No. However, yes, Star Trek is more science based. They had things in there that we see now that when you look back at the show, reminds you of that. You had the thing like almost a precursor to the cell phone, or the precursor to the automatic doors opening, or teleportation. These are things that actual scientists and inventors really think about and really try to put into existence. We have a cell phone, we have automatic doors, and the moving sidewalk. The things that you actually saw in Star Trek, we actually have some of those things. Okay, so yes, I would consider Star Trek more science fiction than Star Wars. However, that is not the reason why I like Star Wars. I like Star Wars simply because of Star Wars. I believe where Star Wars lacks in science fiction, it makes for in philosophy. Okay, I see Star Wars as more of in the realms of like the Greek mythological stories. Odysseus, Hercules, Perseus. Or other mythologies of other civilizations. You got the story of Heru. The resurrection, Asar, Aset, Heru. The story of the Buddha. Going for enlightenment. The Greek mythological stories. All those things. I will put that. I'll put Star Wars in that category, the philosophical category. Also, just as the adventurous, it reminds me of the video games where the person goes on an adventure, like Legend of Zelda. Perfect example. The perfect example. Legend of Zelda is a perfect example. I love Legend of Zelda for the same reason I love Star Wars. They both give me that quest feel. It feels like, people going on a quest to find things and find certain weapons and learn from certain gurus and learn different techniques. And you have the Order of the Jedi and the Order of the Sith. All these orders, these ancient orders, these temples and shrines to this particular Jedi or this particular Sith or the way of the Force. Just the simple concept of the Force is very mythological, is very esoteric, is very philosophical. You know, it plays, in my opinion, Star Wars plays more on the imagination of the viewer or the reader than I think Star Trek does. Yes, Star Trek also has their philosophical. Yes, they do. But just the scale of worlds, I believe Star Wars has it in spades. You go to different planets and the civilizations on different planets. They both have similarities. Both of them deal with different worlds and different species and humans interacting with different species. Okay, from different planets and different languages being spoke and different technologies being spoke. Different weapons. You know, both shows, both movies have that. Okay, but I think where Star Wars goes past that is you have, in my opinion, you have more creativity when it comes to different species on Star Wars, right? So you get characters like Yoda, and you got just characters that look just different of all shapes and sizes and colors. And Star Trek has that too, but just to me, it feels like more it was a more of an emphasis on the diversity of life in Star Wars. You got Jabba the Hutt and that little big-eared, bug-eyed thing that was near Jabba the Hutt all the time. That emphasis on detail when it came to the Star Wars characters, I believe, surpassed Star Trek. And the lightsaber. I mean, do I need to go any further with that? Lightsaber is probably one of the most iconic weapons in all of visual media. You may not even know about Star Wars, but you know about a lightsaber. You may not know about what the red lightsaber is, or the blue, or the green lightsaber, or who had the purple lightsaber. Mace Windu. But you know Star Wars. I mean, you know what a lightsaber is, even if you didn't know what Star Wars was. But once you learn what the lightsaber is, you jump right into Star Wars. Like, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. There were other weapons in Star Wars, but lightsaber is synonymous with Star Wars. You know, the characters, the characters of Star Wars, to me, resonate more. My favorite character out of all characters, good and bad characters, my favorite character is Yoda. I find more of a kinship with Yoda than any other character. You know, my favorite villain, it was Darth Vader until I saw Darth Maul. Darth Maul is one of the coolest villains, to just attitude wise. Darth Maul looked like he would just come to you, kill you, and walk off and don't even say a word. That's what that Darth Maul just represents. That cold, quiet assassin. that'll come to you in the night with his dark cloak on, come to you, stab you with the lightsaber, and be out. You know, but Star Trek, you know, they had my favorite Star Trek character was Worf. That's my favorite Star Trek character. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like the voice or just the calmness. But Worf was always my favorite Star Trek character. But there are more characters that I love from Star Wars. You got Yoda. Han Solo was one of my favorite. Mace Windu. I would say my favorite characters. My favorite characters. Like my top three favorite characters of Star Wars. Top three. Yoda. Mm, Yoda. I would say Mace Windu and Darth Maul are like neck and neck to me. Even though it didn't look like Mace Windu and Darth Maul got this shit, but okay, I'm okay. Look, I'm like this. Yoda, number one. That's top number one. Mace Windu and Darth Maul. They switch. They switch from depending on how I'm feeling. They switch. And Darth Vader. Darth Vader's number four. And I would say, mm, five is hard. I would say that's also a toss up between Princess Leia and Chewie. I'm leaning towards Princess Leia because Princess Leia was just gully, like she ain't care. She from the very first movie, from Episode 4. You know, she came in ready to go. You know, the only problem I had with Star Wars, the only problem I had with Star Wars, other than the parsecs thing, was Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker kissing. But that was before they knew they were siblings. Before they knew they were twins, the twin siblings. I ain't like that part. To me, it'd just be weird to me that I kiss my sister, or my sister kissed me, but I don't know it's my sister until later down the line. I come to find out that's my twin sister, and I didn't kiss my twin sister. Uh, I I'm glad George Lucas took that out. I'm glad they took that out for real. That was one part. That was the one part of that movie that bothered me. When I found out when I was younger and I watched Star Wars and I found out they were twins, like yeah, 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 okay. But I like the world of Star Wars suits my mentality. It just suits me. It's like shoot, I want to be a Jedi. I wish there was an actual order, like real order of the Jedi. When they got real lightsabers where I can learn from a Jedi Master and use the Force. I wish I could do that. You know, I wish I could meet Yoda and have him train me. I could do flips and stuff like Luke Skywalker did when he was carrying Yoda. I could do that. I could do a front somersault. I could do that. Even at 33 years old, I could still do a front somersault with no problem. Maybe a little bit of problem. I ain't done in a while. Maybe a little bit of problem. But I wish, or I wish I had Mace Windu's lightsaber. Like he was the only one with a purple lightsaber. The only one with a purple lightsaber. That's cool. Cause we all know the three main colors: red, blue, and green. But who had the purple? Now, what I would like, now what I would like for Star Wars, like we already did the prequel of Episode 1, 2, and 3. We did that already. But two things I want to see in the upcoming Star Wars movies. Two main things I want to see. Okay, George, Mr. Lucas, if you listening, if this gets to you, can you do me this? Can you do me these two favors? Just do me this. Just do me this solid. Can you do this for me? All right, look. I need. I'm sure everybody else needs an origin story. Maybe 5-10 minutes, 5-10 minutes scene, 5-10 minutes scene. I need an origin story of Yoda, like young Yoda. I need an origin story of young Yoda. We all know Yoda the Jedi Master, but he wasn't always the Jedi Master. Someone taught him. I need I need an origin scene, couple of scenes of Yoda when he was young and getting it in, swinging lightsabers, you know, getting it in. I also would like to see different uses of the lightsaber. Like, these Jedi are so powerful that they can lift. They can move star destroyers and you know push things out the way with ease. I want to see more interaction with the Force and the lightsaber. Like, let's say let's say the next one, Luke Skywalker's fighting, right? And he's fighting the enemy and the lightsaber gets knocked out the hand, right? But you still gotta fight because somebody got a lightsaber swinging at you. How about Luke Skywalker uses the Force to to swing the lightsaber and still fight, but he's not holding the lightsaber. He's using the Force to maneuver the lightsaber in the air. Or have a character who has multiple lightsabers on him. Like, have a character who has like 4 lightsabers, 2 on each side, right? But he doesn't have any hands. So imagine that. Either Jedi or Sith. It'd probably be nicer if it was a Sith. I could just see a Sith doing this. A Sith with no arms, right? Like this, like this, right? A Sith with no arms, okay, with no arms, but has 4 lightsabers on them, 2 on each side, right? And he or she fights. This particular Sith fights by using the Force to maneuver and manipulate the lightsabers at the same time. So he could take out one lightsaber with the he use one lightsaber with the Force and start swinging it around. Then he takes out another lightsaber. Now you got 2 lightsabers. Now this Sith with no arms is manipulating 2 lightsabers at the same time. Then he takes out 3. Then he takes out 4. Like, if he's surrounded, if this Sith is surrounded like on all 4 sides, check out all 4 lightsabers. No, remember, this Sith has no arms, so the Sith is surrounded. He takes out all 4 lightsabers by using the Force. Okay, using the Force, and now he's swinging 4 lightsabers at the same time, fighting all four Jedi with 4 lightsabers using the Force, just everywhere, right? That'd be dope. So, just that, like, just that what I just did. Star Wars makes me do that. Star Wars makes me think about, well, how far can we take it? To me, the creative canvas for Star Wars is always empty. It's like you can always create more with Star Wars. For me, like, as an artist, I can just go on for days coming up with ideas for Star Wars. I don't really get that with Star Trek. I don't really do that for me. Star Trek, Star Trek gives me the feel that I have to stick to a strict scientific regimen in order to make Star Trek more believable. But with Star Wars, since Star Wars was George Lucas never pitched Star Wars as a science fiction story. He never did. Star Trek is pitched as in science fiction. So with science fiction, you have to have a certain level of science knowledge. It's actually the same thing. Science and knowledge are the same thing, but a certain level of scientific literacy in order to make Star Trek work. However, since Star Wars was never pitched as a science fiction movie, it was just placed into that category. But George Lucas never said it was a science fiction movie. So the fact that it's not a science fiction movie means that you don't have to actually stick to the regimen of science. You can branch off into other stuff, with the exception of that parsec stuff. You can't do that no more. No more parsec. If you're ever going to mention a scientific term, you better use it correctly. You better use a scientific term correctly. If you're going to put it in there, you better use it correctly. Otherwise, just leave it out. Okay? All right. But minus that, there's no need to stick to a strict scientific regimen. And I believe that's the charm of it, because you don't have to. You can just go as far as you want to creatively. You can make any kind of character you want. You can defy any kind of laws of physics you want, and no one's gonna care because it was never meant to be a science experiment in the first place. You can just deal with philosophy and these different worlds, like just the scale of worlds that Star Wars has is unprecedented. Like, there are people who just go to see a Star Wars movie just for the environments in the first place, like Tatooine and Naboo and all these places, and Alderaan. Like, these places, these scenes, these landscape scenes are like a character within themselves. Like, to me, Star Wars has characters within characters. You got the actual characters, the actual people and creatures. That's like one character like that. Then you have the worlds are like another character within themselves. The robots, R2D2, C3PO, you know, BB-8. Those are characters within themselves. You know, the lightsaber has become a character within itself. The lightsaber took on its own personality. You don't have to buy the character with a lightsaber. You can buy the lightsaber by itself, and you can be the Jedi or the Sith. You know? So, with Star Wars, for me, Star Wars, just the possibilities are endless with Star Wars. There's no telling what new characters are going to come out. There's no telling what new worlds you're going to go into. There's no telling what kind of villains you're going to meet. There's no telling what kind of effects they're going to show. There's no telling what kind of fight scenes you're going to show. The fight scenes alone in Star Wars are some of the best fight scenes you will ever see in cinema or in the visual media, period. Star Wars, like Darth Maul's first fight scene when he took out the double lightsaber and he's fighting young Obi-Wan Kenobi and his master Qui-Gon Jinn, that fight scene alone is historic. And the fight scene with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, we see the scene where the lightsabers are crossing. That fight scene is iconic. Like, some of the most iconic scenes in movie history came from Star Wars. You know, some of the best artwork in visual media history has come from Star Wars. Like, it's just, to me it can't be beat. To me, Star Wars, hands down. You know, like I said, I love Star Trek also, but I was first introduced to Star Wars. Maybe that's why I feel that way. I knew about Star Wars before I knew about Star Trek. You know, Star Trek came shortly thereafter, but I was introduced to Star Wars first. And when I first saw Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope on VHS, that's how I am, on VHS, that movie had me hooked. Had me hooked out the tackle box. Had me hooked. Then you had Empire Strikes Back. Then Return of the Jedi. When I was a little kid, Return of the Jedi was my favorite. With that hand, man. My favorite one from the old ones was, well, I say now, I like Empire Strikes Back more. But when I first saw them, Return of the Jedi was my favorite because the little Ewoks. Because when I was a little kid, I used to have bed sheets that had Ewoks on them. So Return of the Jedi for me as a child was it. Had the little Ewoks on there and stuff on the bed sheets and you know bed covers and all that stuff. So like Star Wars was on me from the jump. It was on me from the beginning, and I just love the world of Star Wars. I just love it. So I mean, for me, Star Wars, Star Wars over Star Trek, and I would say Star Wars over Star Trek, 80-20. 80% Star Wars, 20% Star Trek. Love Star Trek though. Love the Trekkies. My wife is a Trekkie. You know, love the Trekkies, but Star Wars all day. All right. Post your comments down below. Y'all let me know what y'all feeling. Star Wars, Star Trek. Why? Why you like Star Wars? Why you like Star Trek? Why you not like Star Wars? Why you not like Star Trek? Let me know. Post in the comment, and I will see you all later. Peace, and may the force be with you.